So you've probably heard there's 267,000 people now have died from COVID in the United States, and there's still anti-masker truthers, sort of refusing to wear masks and refusing to believe that COVID is real. Of course, you can blame the corporate duopoly for this mess, because if basically there's been an ignorance fostered in the United States through just lack of proper education, through poverty, all kinds of things that are the result of what's been heading for a failed state for a while. Two parties that are owned by corporations, and you know the rest. So it ends up that you get some people who are so ignorant that they think that this whole idea of we're Americans, USA, USA, USA is the way to rebel, when really it's just killing not only them, but it's crippling everything. It's actually getting rid of small businesses due to COVID. Through this COVID pandemic, it's almost bordering on endemic at this point. It's even way ahead of India, and India has almost 3 times the population of the United States. So there's been more people died in the United States. It's really ahead now. It really is USA, USA, leading in warmongering and the death of people from COVID because of the government cares more about the economy than it does about the people, and also because of a fostering of ignorance. It's anti-intellectualism, basically, fostering ignorance, which is fostering anti-intellectualism. That's been part of it too, and just a failed duopoly that is owned by corporations. All those different factors have come together to set up this dreadful situation, which looks like there's no end in sight. And I was watching Michael Moore today. I very rarely watch him, because really he's a useful idiot for the Democratic Party, whether he realizes it or not, whether it's intentional or not, but he is. And he's appealing to US Trumpers, and saying, please wear a mask. And then appealing to them their American exceptionalism as a way of doing it. I mean, geez Louise, is all I can say to that. So anyway, why I'm talking about this is because I had a look at a map the other day. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and it's kind of shocking, and it is going to exacerbate this COVID pandemic, something shocking. So have a look at this. So we've got percentage of adults living in households not current on rent or mortgage, where eviction or foreclosure in the next 2 months is either very likely or somewhat likely. And we have at 11%, the percentage of adults is, up in New York and Maine and Vermont, that's okay. And for some reason, I think that's Alabama down the bottom there. I'm not sure why. They seem to be at the lower end of that percentage. And then you have all these, most of the United States are in the 31% to 41% range, which is really scary. Look at Nevada and Florida, South Carolina, Kansas, Wyoming. There's a few places there that are on the 41%. So this is like the percentage of adults now who are facing eviction in the next couple of months. And is the Democratic Party or the GOP going to do anything about this? I mean, this fiscal stimulus, where is it? The one that's going to basically stop people from being evicted. If this happens, if this is going to be the most calamitous situation ever, it'll make the Depression in the early 20th century look like nothing. Not only that, but it's going to exacerbate the COVID pandemic too, because all these people are going to be kind of homeless, or they're going to be staying with other people, and it's winter there, and so it's going to be indoors, and things are just going to go through the roof. In the UK, not surprisingly, apparently poor people are at most risk of dying of COVID in the UK. Well, I would say that's the case everywhere, and of course black people in particular, because there's a lot of poverty in black communities, but also because of the low vitamin D levels with black people, because of the high melanin levels in their skin. So I suppose you could say this is one way of getting rid of poor people. I don't, I'm not saying that this is the reason that they're letting this get out of control, of course. It's just that the US government doesn't really care about the citizens. They care about the economy. So nobody is going to do anything uniform. All the states are doing whatever the hell they want. Whatever nut is in charge of that state, and however much they care about corporations, they're going to do as little as possible for the people. But they'll do something if the corporations are, or the large corporations want them to, or the businesses. or if the economy is looking threatened in some ways, but it's got little to do with people. Anyway, that's a shocking map, and I mean, honestly, it's like watching a train. It's like watching a train wreck, but it's like watching it over and over and over again, and it's completely avoidable because the sovereign economy could fix this, with some deficit spending and all this deficit fear porn that goes on where people don't really understand how the operational reality of a sovereign economy. That's why I keep talking about mentioning MMT for people to go and look into it. Stephanie Kelton, who was Bernie Sanders' economic advisor in 2016 and 2020, and she's a proponent of MMT. And the sovereign economy could take care of this just like that. You see how they take care of corporations with the CARES Act and the largest funding of corporations and rich people that ever there was. And where are where is the stimulus for the people, for the population? Where is the support? And you saw that video I did recently. It was some excerpts from a channel called Precious Child, and Precious Child goes out and does regular live streams on BLM protests and things of that nature. And Precious Child went and did a filming of an eviction that was carried out at 3 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving. And it was just one female was removed from a building that was a California state-owned building, basically, home. And she wasn't doing there was no harm in her being there. She was obviously suffering financially. And about 6 or 7 police just were at the door, and 2 of them had rifles, and they handcuffed her. And there was a human rights group there who said, please bring her over to us and we'll take her home. We'll take her somewhere, basically. And they didn't. They took her down and put her in prison, put her in the jail. I mean, it's just the sadistic nature of end-stage capitalism. Truly and really. It's disgusting. So 3 in the morning, and because these cops were probably making triple time from doing that. Anyway, Yasha Levine, he and his partner, who is pregnant, by the way, are on the verge of, he's a journalist, they're on the verge of being turfed out, evicted from their house, but that's been put off. And he regularly writes on his blog on Substack, so check it out, it's very good. And I'm going to read a bit of his blog because it points out the dangers of these evictions in relation to COVID in particular. It's titled, Resuming Evictions Caused Over 10,000 Deaths in Just 6 Months. Evictions are murder, they help spread the virus. So we were supposed to go to eviction court the day before Thanksgiving. We were about to make the trip, but at the last moment found out that it would not happen. There had been a bureaucratic mishap. Now our day in court is set for late January, less than 2 months from now and 2 months before Evgenia is due to give birth. That's his partner. Ever since the lockdown began in March, I've been saying that allowing evictions to go forward during a pandemic is premeditated murder. Evgenia and I took part in the early protests calling on Los Angeles to suspend evictions and provide rent support, which was months before we ourselves got hit with a frivolous eviction by our landlord. And excuse me for the wind, it's suddenly built up. I hope that you can hear me okay. Now a new study that's supposed to be published tomorrow backs this worry up. And by the way, I've got this, so if it's not working, I'm sorry. Evictions spread the virus. They kill people, lots of them. According to CNBC, now this is very interesting, the researchers from the University of California, Los Angeles University of California, San Francisco, Johns Hopkins University, Boston University, and Wake Forest University School of Law found that lifting state moratoriums and allowing eviction proceedings to continue caused as many as 433,700 excess cases of COVID-19 and 10,700 additional deaths in the US between March and September. 10,700 deaths. Quote, when people are evicted, they often move in with friends and family, and that increases the number of contacts, end quote, said Catherine Leafheit, one of the authors of the research and a postdoctoral fellow at UCLA Fielding School of Public Health. Quote, if people have to enter a homeless shelter, these are indoor places that can be quite crowded, end quote. And see, that's the other thing, that woman that was taken out of that state housing on Thanksgiving in the middle of a pandemic by all those, the LAPD and the Los Angeles Highway Patrol, the California Highway Patrol, then they take her down to a jail, probably with other people. That risks her getting COVID. I mean, it's nuts. To best understand, this is a continuation, to best understand the direct impact that evictions are continuing in a state on the spread of the coronavirus, the researchers control for stay-at-home orders, mask orders, school closures, testing rates, and other factors. The study period was from March to early September before the most recent spike in cases. interested in reading the full paper and seeing how they came up with that number, so it gives a link to that. Despite all of this, Los Angeles County has revved up its evictions court again. That means that under LA's current lockdown regime, people can't enjoy a socially distanced coffee in an outdoor cafe, but they can be forced to spend hours inside courtroom and then get kicked out on the street. That's life in progressive liberal California. Landlords, Uber Alice. So that's Yasha Levine. So consider subscribing to his Substack. I'll leave a link to that. I say this over and over again. The US is a failed state, and when you see this kind of thing, when you see things like 10,800 people, to some it's just a number, but these are all people who had lives, they loved life, they had all had families, so there'd be literally, sort of a dozen people maybe associated with some of those people, a huge amount of grieving, and all because of, for what? The mismanagement of this is absolutely astronomical and catastrophic and completely preventable.